Zoom on Google Sheets looks very strange. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Give everyone a couple minutes to filter in here. Just to confirm, Caitlin, you see the Lunch and Learn slide, right?
Yeah.
Okay, a little bit of a small crowd today, so if you guys have any questions, let me know. I am here. Do the checkboxes closed state and create assignment do on a case entity state? Aha, great question, Jeremy. I will. Give me 2 secs and I know it. We'll have to figure out what closed state does. Oh, I think closed state means last state. 2 secs. And I will get that up here for you. Okay, so let's get into the studio here. It's today 8/2. It's hard to believe that it's guessed already. And let's create a case here. User case test 1. As always, give it 2 string properties, str1 and str2, and create this. All right, so here's a state. And so we're talking about if I edit my state, I have closed state and create assignment. So let's start with create assignment. So I'll go ahead and allow you to talk there if you want, sir. So the idea here is with a case, there's two ways to think about like building process tracking or like these stateful workflows. And we have a data type, even though there's a lot of, even though you can actually pick and choose which one you want really, because the behaviors are equivalent between the two. But like, do you have a process that's fairly sequential? If so, you can use a flow execution extension, and then you can put the assigned form steps in the diagram. So, you'd have like setup process folder, set state, assigned form, and then it would be set state, assigned form, set state, assigned form, and you continue that sort of process or that design as you needed going forward. That's one. That's the sort of basic option. The other way is to use like more of a case design, and that's what these expected states let you see in the case editor. And so what the idea is, when a case moves into a particular state, you want to have it assigned to a particular group of users. And so the state controls the assignment. Now, what we have is an option here with create assignment to let this state create an assignment that is assigned to one of either to these users or to these groups. It's not very commonly used because you don't get control over the actual form, or you can't and you can't do any of the sort of detailed design work that you'd like to oftentimes do with an assigned form. But you can get a free assignment when something moves into a state. So I'm on the started state, I'm going to create an assignment and I'm going to assign it to administrators. And then I'm going to go and I'll just add a case. So add case test one, garbage text. Okay. And now I'm going to get an assignment because it's in the started state. And that assignment is assigned to administrators. If I click, it doesn't give me any behavior, but I can complete this assignment. Well, actually, can't. I guess all I can do is change state. One of the things this lets you do, though, is have like a view, like kind of a queue of your current cases. So create assignment is an option that when something is in a particular state to create an assignment. Now, what we would often see happen is under the state, you'd add an activity, and that activity would be a trigger flow. And this is a flow that runs when it moves into this state. And then this would be, I'll call this the better you do assignments with cases. And in here, if I show a form, pick and create a form, just create a brand new form. Okay. And then change it to assigned. I'll assign it to administrators and give it some garbage text for assignment name and assignment action name. Okay. And if I do the same steps again, come back to my folder and go add case test, add case test one, and name this test two with some garbage text. I'm going to get an assigned form here. Oh, excuse me, I need to change that to put itself in the appropriate folder. Just a minute here. So assignment, setup, edit, and assignment. Assignment folder type is from flow, and select from flow folder ID. This will just ensure that the assignment gets added to the case folder. Let me try that again. Add case test one, test three, garbage text. Now I'm in case test three and I've got my assignment and I can click my assignment action and I can see my very ugly form. So the state trigger is the more flexible approach. But if you have a very bare bones state-based process, then you can use the create assignment action or the create assignment configuration on on the expected folder state. So to create an assignment for a user or group when the case moves into that state. Now the closed state is the last state. So right now we launch with started and completed, and closed state is set to true. So completed is the final state in this process. Now I don't actually know the significance of closed state. Well, just a quick moment. Let me ask a question. So closed state, it just signifies the last state. I add a new state here called, I'll call this started. I'll call it awaiting approval or something like that. And I can move left. So awaiting approvals there. Now completed is the closed state. So closed state probably lets it hit its, let's go look at our test one here and we use change state. And if I click completed, it shows me completed. which is the last state. Now completed is our closed state, which is the current state. Jeremy, I actually don't know if what the behaviors for closed state are. Like, I don't know if it does anything specifically. But let me ask and try to come back. Come back to you with an answer on that. I really don't know. I don't think it does anything. But yeah, I'll have to come back. I'll ask a question or two, and see if I can get you an answer there. Um,
Okay, that sounds good. I was just curious. I haven't messed with cases yet, and I'm just kind of getting started with that. So just curious of what these options do. But so I was also just curious if that is the case, like in a case entity, I mean, it's not like it's not linear. So I mean, in reality, you could have a case end on one state or end on another, depending on the path of everything. It's like you could have like a completed or a canceled state, and they both
Yeah.
could be the last state in a process.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
Okay.
But yeah. The goal is really, the idea with the cases is you get all these little small flows that kind of read from and write data back into the case folder instead of one bigger sort of longer running flow. And that's one of the reasons we've seen a lot of people start using case-based designs. And that's one of the reasons we added the global debugger, which is, yeah, that's one of the reasons we added the global debugger, because it can be hard to troubleshoot or debug your design because you've got all these little trigger flows firing off. And so it can be difficult to see what's actually happening. So the global debugger was added in V7 to help make designing with cases easier. But yeah, and it can also, it's a good pattern to use because you don't care so much about how everything moves through. You know, you have a folder. You can, as you add documents, you can put them in the folder, and that means in particular states that need to show those documents, instead of passing them all through a flow, you just fetch them from the folder and show them on the appropriate form, or read from the form and save them to the current folder. So there's a lot of
That makes sense.
positives to case-based designs.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Looks like, Jeremy, you're actually the only person in here today. I hate to admit that, but you got any other questions for us today?
No, but that seems to happen a lot. But I come to glean any information I can.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you coming. So trying to sweeten the pot here as much as I can to get people to come ask questions.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything else right now.
Okay, cool. Well, let me know. I'm gonna hang out for a bit in case someone else joins.
Okay.
Hey, thanks for those of you that have just joined. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm happy to help. Got a small audience today, so feel free to ask any questions you'd like. You can use chat, you can use Q&A, or just use the raise hand feature, and I'll unmute you and we can chat about whatever questions you might have.
Hi. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. How are you? What can I help you with?
Good. How are you? I had a quick question. So on the field, for example, I have a name and I want the user to only type in 22 characters. So it can't go over 22 characters.
Mhm.
Is there any way I can create like I try to create a validation where as soon as they type more than 22 characters, it just like gives an error that the exceeded you can't type more than 22. Is there any way that can happen?
Yeah, you got a couple options here.
Okay.
Let me put together a really quick form here. So here's my text box. And the
Mhm.
first option is under behavior. You can specify a maximum length here. So if I just put 20, let's see what that looks like from a, well, let me fully configure my text box first, put some garbage text in for data name
Mhm.
and build my flow here. And let's debug this. All right, so that's that. Now, if I put in more than 20 characters, it's going to prevent me from entering more than 20 characters at all. So
Mhm.
like that's a hard limit. It won't let them do more than that. But it doesn't actually show a validation for them at all.
Mhm.
It'll just
Is
stop them.
yes, that's what like the business users want for the requester. I mean, for the user to see that, oh, they can only put 22 character limit. It should show them the error or validation error.
Okay, then yeah, we're gonna look at what version are you running today?
I am on, sorry, let me make sure so I don't tell the wrong one. It's 12 point, it is 6.20.
Okay, then what you're gonna be doing, I'll do this in the old way here, if you will. Since you don't have an active form flow, what under legacy here, this should look somewhat familiar to you where you have validation rules.
Yes, I do have that. Mhm.
Okay, so I'm gonna add a validation rule here called validate text length or something.
Mhm.
It'll be a rule and I'll pick or create my rule. I'll create a new one, create a new one. Some of these dialogues will be different, but the general principle should be the same. I'm gonna set up my input data and I'm gonna bind this to my text box, right? So I'll just call this, I'm just gonna name it email address text box just for now.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna write a rule here. So I'm gonna say the email address text box length rules is less than. So if the string that I pass in to this rule named email address text box is less than 20 characters, it will return true. Otherwise, it will return false. So then what I
Okay.
can do is I'm back on my add validation rule screen here. And this is my validation break text. And I can change the break level to fatal or warn. So I want this to be fatal. I want them to not be able to progress. And I'm going to say, you cannot enter more, excuse me, you cannot enter more than 20 characters, the email address field. Please do X, Y, Z, whatever that might be. And I'm going to apply it to a control, which I'll find here under the data name. So I'm going to find my text box here. And I'm going to set the trigger. So I'm going to say on value changed, run this rule. Now, you might not want to do this on value change. You might want to do this on exit so that you're not running the rule every time they type, depending on how many users. If you have there's performance considerations here if this is going to be something that you do at scale. And then the last thing I need to do is map my rule I just wrote, which is under here in edit rule, and to my text box. And I need to run update inputs here so that this dialog knows about those inputs I created on my form or in my rule. Now that I have it, I can click the edit icon And I can change this from form input data to form component. And this is going to give me a filtered list of the form components, the text boxes, the drop-down lists, the number boxes, the date time pickers, whatever, the data grids. And I can find my terribly named text box here, and I can say, I can bind the value of that text box as to the input of that rule. That's what I'm doing on this dialog here. I can click OK. I can save my form and exit, and then I can debug, and I should get a validation rule that will tell me you cannot enter more than 20 characters in the email address. So actually what I need to do is remove my text limit really quickly. Just a moment. Let me go to my text box, go back to behavior, and set my maximum length back to some large number. It was like 65,000 or something. Now, boom. So I can add more than 20 characters, but it's going to run my rule. And then as I get back, then it'll validate. But if, again, as we do more, it'll throw that validation, and you can control the text of that validation in that break text or help text field. So some of that is not going to look exactly the same because we've redone our property grids and things like that in newer versions, but the general principle is still the same.
Gotcha. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Any other question that you have today?
It's a random question. Is there a way where we can have so for example, I have 5 approvers, rather than assigning each of them like a task, there's a way that I can have a chain of approval. So as soon as the first person's approves it, then it goes to the second without doing assigning each form, or it has to be every single approver gets a form or task.
Yeah. So your question is, if you have 5 levels of approval, right? And you don't, is it the same exact form each and every time?
Yes.
And you don't want to have 5 steps in a row?
Kind of automated. For example, if I have 9 approvers, I will have to have 9 separate forms for each of them to get it. Is there a simpler way where you can just put it in and it goes by the list?
Yeah, and just to be clear, everyone's for approver 1, approver 2 awaits on approver 1, and approver 3 awaits on approver 2.
Yes.
Then yeah, you could create effectively a bit of an approval chain here. So let me create a new folder here, which would be called lists of approvers. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is create a flow here. And I'm going to act like I have some sort of list of approvers in this flow. And to do that, I'm just going to create some flow input called approvers list, which is going to be a string list. And then I'm going to run, grab 2 steps, a for each and a show form. So on my for each step, I'll pass in my string list so I can loop through my approvers list. My next path will go to my form. I'm going to create my form really quickly. And I'm just going to put a button and a label. Say this is a label. Need to do that. Okay, let's save this. And then here, I'm going to turn this assignment type to assigned. And I'm going to ignore assigned to here. And I'm going to put some garbage text in for my action, and my assignment name and my assignment action name. But I'm going to come to assignment setup here. And my accounts and groups, I'm going to say, what I'm going to do is pass in the output of the for each step into my assigned form as the assignee. And the order of that that string list, which is going to be comprised of just user emails, is going to determine the order of the assignments here. So I'm going to say build array, and item 0, I'll change to select from flow, and I'm going to use item here. And item is the output of my for each step. And then I can make my done path come back to my for each. So what this design is telling me is that I will loop through X number of assignments based on the number of email strings in the list that I pass through. So if I were to create a quick unit test to show this, I'm just gonna do admin@decisions.com like 3 times just to get the point across because I don't have any actual accounts here. Let's save a unit test. So I can run this again if I need to. Save this. Now I'll run this. Boom. I've got an assigned form and I can submit it. I can get my next assignment here. I can submit it and I can get my next assignment. I can submit it. And so you can imagine if those were each different emails, this flow would sit in this loop basically perpetually until we exhausted the collection of approvers. So if the form is exactly the same, right? You just need to swap out who the assignee is. A design like this would could help you account for like a dynamic number of approvers more easily. We have other patterns that can help you do parallel approvals. These are things called like branch branch or a branch for each. If you need to actually create instead of two waiting on one, you need 3 approvers at stage 1 and they all have to approve, and you need 3 approvers at stage 2. Like you can handle more complicated parallel approval designs like that. So yeah, does that help at all?
Yes, the only thing is like for the approver list, is that like separate account that you make and then have all the the emails in there? So for example, you have an approvers list. Do you just like create it randomly? Or is that where I put all these separate emails in the loop?
Yeah, I mean, you figure out where you get that list. Like where would you pull that list of approvers from today?
So that would be each approver that is on the form, whichever the requester chooses.
Okay, so in your flow, someone's going to select like X number of approvers?
Yes.
And what is an approver? Is it a data type of some sort?
Yes, we're just pulling the email from the corporate directory, so they can just like type few characters and then they look up for their approver, usually one of manager or like the director.
Okay. Yeah, then you could just pass that list of email strings to the to a for each step. Or if it's an account or whatever, like I'm just using strings because it's easy for me to do here. But this could be, we could loop an account list, and then in the mapping here would be slightly different. It wouldn't be item, it'd be item.email address. But we can if does that make sense? Am I answering your question?
Yes, that makes perfectly sense. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you bet. And you can get all sorts of complicated with this. You can create data structures that have like orders, right? So you could set a precedence, and you could have the submitter actually, set the order, or you could have them set, we do something similar to this, like in our, if you look at the employee onboarding flow that we have in our app store, like that you could have certain approvers be sequential, certain approvals be in parallel. You can kind of take this pattern and really blow it out if you need something like very, very sophisticated. But this would be the simplest way for you to take to handle a variable number of approvers in the design that you're talking about. Just get that list of approvers and loop them through a form step, and change the assignee. Make the assignment value, the who to assign to in the accounts and groups come from the appropriate property of the item that you're looping through.
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
You bet. Happy to help. It looks like we've had a couple other people join in the last couple minutes. Any other questions from the team? If this is your first time joining, you can always ask a question in the question Q&A section. You can ask a question in the chat, or just use the raise hand feature, and we will unmute you and let you ask your question, and then we can figure out if we can answer it for you. All of the above. Okay, Clayton will go ahead and allow you to talk. Go ahead if you want to ask your question, sir.
Hi, good afternoon. I did not, I joined a bit late, so I'm sorry about that. Who is the presenter?
Hi, this is Will.
Hi, Will. So I don't know if you have a guidance as to if we need to focus on a specific area. But there's an issue I'm having with my AD, pulling AD accounts into decisions.
Mhm.
I did raise a ticket with the support team, but I seem not to be making progress in that regard. When I define my AD settings, everything is fine and it connects to the AD.
Okay.
The server, it pulls the information, but well, it doesn't pull the information. It runs for a while and then there's none of the account is coming over. I did set up a second connecting to a second server.
Mhm.
And if I define my my OUs as elevated account, it did pull in those elevated accounts, but the regular accounts, it was not pulling in those.
What type of sync are you doing? Like entire domain, org unit, or selected
No,
group?
org units,
Okay, and no groups or no accounts come over?
no groups, no account comes over.
Could you change it to selected groups temporarily and see if you get the list of groups to show? That's a easy way for us to validate that your connection
Yeah.
is correct.
I think I had done that, and in that case, it pulled over some of the accounts, but it wasn't pulling over everything.
Well, not actually to actually sync it,
Mhm.
but just to look. In fact, would you like? This is a recorded, publicly available session.
Mhm.
Are you okay to share your screen?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I'm gonna make you I'm gonna make you a panelist,
Mhm.
and then let you share your screen and see if we can't help you solve this for you.
All right, great.
So just a moment. It's gonna probably bounce you out and bring you back in. Right, I'm gonna stop my share, Clayton, if you want to go ahead and share your screen. You will need to unmute yourself again, just a note.
Yes. Are you now seeing my screen?
Yes.
Right. So.
Mhm. Yep.
Right. So this is what I have as my AD
Okay.
definition.
Okay, so scroll down. And can you change the synchronization option to selected groups for me? And then here, click add. We're not actually gonna add anything, I just wanna see. Okay, and those are like, those look correctly,
Those,
bakery department,
yeah.
those sorts of things, okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so but when you, okay, so set it back to how it was. To your, from synchronization option to be selected org unit. It brings over Foster's clients. Okay. All right, so if you click OK here, let's go look and to see. Yeah, close this and go to expand the security folder for me. And expand the accounts folder. And click on either one of those subfolders for me.
Right.
Uh-huh.
There's
Nothing there.
Nothing here.
Okay. What about Foster's IGA?
These are the elevated account that I came over earlier.
Okay, so these came when you ran the sync originally?
Yes, in a previous config when I ran the sync, these came over.
Okay, maybe that was like a group sync at the time. Like, do you remember what that
Yes.
sync was?
I think there was a group sync.
Okay, and can you expand the groups folder for me? And then I guess yep, and the one below it. Okay, and can you go to the root groups folder? Okay, nothing. Go to the root accounts folder. Okay, also created by system. Those are those are manually created accounts for users. How many users are you expecting to be brought over? Like a lot?
Probably about 1,000.
Okay. Do this, go ahead and go back to settings. And right click on Active Directory settings. And run sync now.
See now.
And click yes. All right, and it's gonna tell us the sync is started. Now the sync finished, okay? So let's look at our logs. So go to the administration folder, system tools, logging. Okay, 0 results, 0 users from OU. Calling sync found 0 users. Are we sure we have the right OU, that we have the correct OU?
The only thing I'm gonna change now is the OU that I'm syncing from.
Okay.
So I could remove this one and add this. Do I need to resync the sync info?
You can, yep. Not required, but yes. Okay, starting a full sync. Very fast again, probably too fast to add that many user accounts. So
Yeah.
check your logs again. Okay, so it found some groups. LDAP, debug, system byte to system string. But that's, okay, so that's 1137. That's the one, that's the sync we just ran.
Mhm.
Error trying to sync an OU named. Can you click on row 9 for me? If we can see the rest of the error message. Error trying to sync an OU named users Fosters. Is that the one we just tried to sync?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. It doesn't tell us why.
No, I was thinking that the error that you got before that
Click on that.
resulted in this one.
Active Directory member, invalid cast exception to system string, log level debug. Internal users since last USN direct. There's something. Active Directory member something. Active Directory, internal. Get user since last USN direct. Some byte, there's a byte array coming back when we expect this string. Something. Close this slide out here. All right, so we've got debug level logs already. Refresh this report for me.
Refresh.
Gotta be something.
With the OU?
Something's configured in AD in a way that we don't expect. Go to the top here for me. Go ahead.
No, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, quit it. What could be? There's like some AD setting or AD configuration that we're not supporting correctly here. But what would that be?
I mean,
searching for group. Go ahead.
I did have someone from support take a look at it, and they couldn't figure out anything either. because they were just straight, the AD accounts were just straight accounts, full use.
Mm-hmm. Looking at that ticket right now, just a minute. Okay, so this was, you've gotten sync to work on earlier versions?
Yes, so when we were running version 8, no, version 7, I
Mm-hmm.
had at version 7, I did a sync and it seems to have been okay at that point. Because we basically changed servers and we were upgrading to version 8, we cleaned that out and tried to do it again, and it just didn't work afterwards.
You cleaned what? What did you clean out?
I mean, I cleaned out, I think I deleted from the database the accounts that were integrated at that point or pulled in into decisions at that point from AD.
Would you just see if a group sync will work for me?
A group sync.
And so go back to settings. And then edit your Active Directory settings. And then scroll to the bottom here. And we're gonna change that to selected groups. And go ahead and find a group that you know of that has users. Maybe a small number of users.
So I could do.
Mm-hmm. So add that, click OK. Save this, and then do the right click, reset sync info and sync now. That looks like it's might have done something. Let's go look, go to the groups folder there, on the bottom of that folder tree. Yeah, so it'll probably be, yeah, one of those two subfolders.
Uh,
Try the other one.
mm-mm.
Go to the accounts. Any new accounts? No, nothing new.
Nothing.
All right, so go to logs. What's going on here? Searching for group. Exception getting SAM syncing 0. And click on that one for me.
arrows, converted from byte to string.
Mm-hmm. Let me do this. I'm gonna ask the support team member that owns this, Cameron, to escalate this to Dev for help. Clayton, I'm unsure as to what you're seeing here.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's fine.
Did you delete the accounts like from the database or just mark them deleted?
Both mark them deleted and then delete them from the database.
Okay. Exception getting SAM account name. Calling sync, dealing with results, moving to next group, users by group, getting ready to sync group metadata for 0 groups, sync process done. Roll. Is it distribution? Searching for group ID. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. Apologies. I can't. I don't know what's happening here. but
That's
I'll-
okay. That's fine.
I'll ask support to escalate this.
Yes, I appreciate that. Because as I said, I mean, we had the ticket over for some time now, and we just need some support on this.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna make sure I'll get the guys to jump all over this.
All right, great. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. And that's everyone for today. So thanks everyone for joining and have a great afternoon.
Take care.